You're listening to the Jan Price Show, all about movies. And today, my guest is James Cullen Bressack. And we are going to be talking about his very exciting new movie called Survive the Game, starring Bruce Willis. How exciting. Good to have you on the show, James.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me, Jan.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. So this is rather exciting. This is a very exciting film. It keeps you going and guessing throughout. It's a crime thriller. So talk a little bit about, tell the audience so they know what we're talking about, what the synopsis of Survive the Game is all about.
So sorry, I got an airplane right on me when I'm supposed to talk, but
can't hear it. It's okay as long as you can hear us.
Oh, no worries. Awesome. So basically, Survive the Game is about two cops, Bruce Willis and Sven Temmel, who plays Cal. Both of them ambush a bunch of drug dealers and during a drug deal gone wrong, and then they have to chase these guys to a farm in the middle of nowhere where Chad Michael Murray's living, and basically it's good guys versus bad guys. Everybody's shooting everybody. It's nonstop action. I can't stress that enough. It's literally nonstop action. You know, it's there's barely any dialogue in this movie.
Well, there is some, but yes, you're right. It's nonstop action.
There's a lot of long fight sequences. There's like 2 car chases. You know, you got explosions. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's a lot of fun.
It is a ride. It's definitely a ride, and it has a lot going on. I think you threw everything but the kitchen sink into this film.
Actually, technically, I think somebody gets their head smashed in the kitchen sink in that fight scene in the kitchen in the beginning of the movie.
See, he did throw in the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, listen, Bruce Willis. Okay, you're very young and you've accomplished a lot, and we're going to talk a lot about your career because you've had a very phenomenal career for
you're too kind.
Being the young age that you are. So you're a wonderkind, kind as they say. So how did you attract Bruce Willis to this? And also, you told me that you are directing him in another film. So let's talk about the incomparable Bruce Willis and how you attracted him to this project.
Yeah, so Bruce has a long-standing relationship with the producers, so they were able to bring him on board, Randall Emmett and George Furla. So they brought him on board this film, and as well as Stephen Eads, and so Bruce is it was really exciting for me to work with Bruce. I know Bruce found this funny when I said this, but Sin City is one of my favorite movies of all time, and obviously my favorite, that and Pulp Fiction are my 2 favorite Bruce movies. So I know it's not, Sin City is not what you think Bruce Willis. That's not like the movie people say, but I watched that movie maybe 100 times when I was a kid. So working with him was awesome for me. And so I worked with him on Survive the Game, and then we did another movie called The Fortress that's coming out as well, that stars Bruce and Chad again, as well as Jesse Metcalf and Shannon Doherty. And it's and Sedarius Blaine, who's on Fox's The Big Leap right now. So it's I'm really excited. It was a lot of fun to work with him, and it's one of those things that I feel I'm very fortunate to be able to work with such great names as Bruce and Chad Michael Murray and Zach Ward, who's in this as well. I've worked with many times, and Sean Kanan, and I was Sven Temmel, Michael Ciro. I was very lucky to work with such great people, I think.
Well, you have a big cast. It's a very big cast of characters in this film. So what was it like working with such a large cast in a small, environment? It's not like we were a cast of thousands where you were shooting, big battle scenes, but you are shooting battle scenes, but it's on a smaller panoramic set.
It was really exciting for me because we were able to create unique characters with each person. So I think it was a lot of fun doing that. Part of what I did with the costume design is like all of the costumes for all of the characters were like reminiscent of like, some of like the action movies that inspired me. So like, we have Simon Phillips, who plays English. He's dressed up like a Guy Ritchie movie. Like I have him in like a like an outfit that makes him look like he's from a Guy Ritchie movie. Sean Kanan was like, you know, my throwback to Taxi Driver. So I had everybody in there. Zach Ward. I had he looks almost unrecognizable with the tattoos and the bleached blonde hair. And I had him and Kate kind of doing this like Mickey and Mallory thing from Natural Born Killers. And it was just really cool because like for me the movie was just like this like almost surreal, like we just get Chad Michael Murray's character just gets dropped in the middle of an action movie unsuspecting. And so like I wanted it to feel like like he literally like as if he turned on a video game, like he presses a button, opens the door, and suddenly there's an actual action movie in his front lawn, like Bruce Willis, people looking like characters from other movies, like crazy stuff going on. And I thought that was really fun. And I think Christos Andrews, who's plays Michael in it, he's like the main bad guy towards the end. He has a very interesting look as well for the movie. I think he's he plays like a very elegant businessman looking type, and then which is juxtaposed to I had Michael Ciro's character be like my throwback to Eastern Promises. He's very similar to that style and look. So I Viggo Mortensen's character in that. So I just kind of tried to have as much fun as I could, and having the space, I kind of just spread the people out in the space based upon what I thought would be unique for the look and style that I was going for.
Well, it does work, and it is unique. Each character is unique, and it's great having that background of the throwback to other movies and why you had them dressed the way they did in the movie. So that's fascinating.
Yeah. So when I make movies, I try to do like little Easter eggs of like the films that inspired me and the stuff that I really like, and like there's shots and looks for characters and all this different stuff. Like it's not like from the other movie, but if I said like, hey, this was inspired by that because like I thought of that, like you feel like, oh, that makes sense. So I try to do like little things that are like my throwbacks to stuff where it's like I get like super excited because it's like in my mind, like for instance in The Fortress we're filming it, and there's this part where they're driving through the jungle, and in my head I was just over and over again hearing like the theme song from Jurassic Park, because I was just like this is my Jurassic Park moment, even though there were no dinosaurs, so nobody would really watch it and think that, but that's kind of how I try to have fun with these things, and I try to find these moments to do that. And I think it was a really collaborative film. I had a great cast that I was able to collaborate with and find really fun and different things to strengthen the characters and create one thing that was really cool, that in the trailer there's that line where forgive me, it's in the trailer so I don't mean to curse, but where Bruce goes like, I got shot today and I'm tied up and you still hit like a bitch. That was Bruce just ad-libbing. That was not in the script. Bruce came up with that, and I thought that was great. And so I threw it in the movie, and I thought it was awesome that it ended up in the trailer. I'm like those happy moments that like didn't exist on the page, and that it becomes part of the movie.
That's great. I did not know that. Did Bruce ad-lib a number of times throughout this film, or did he follow the script pretty closely?
That's the thing is like, sometimes he ad-libbed, sometimes he did, what was in, what was in the script. I'd say, 90% of the time it's what's in the script, but like, that 10%, like, he brings that little magic of like, beyond the page that like, somebody that only, Bruce's, experience could do. I always encourage my actors to find, I look at scripts more as like a blueprint, and like, we understand, that the house is built this way, right? But it doesn't say what's on the walls when you have a blueprint, right? So I encourage them, as long as it doesn't change, the meaning of the scene, to like, ad lib or find, little moments that passed it. And so, Bruce, I think, had fun with that, as well as Zach Ward had some fun with that as well. And I think, we found some cool stuff that's a little bit past what's on the page. And some of the most famous lines in movie history were ad libbed.
Right. right. It's true. It's true. Well, that, as the actor knows the character really well, and how they speak and talk,
Oh, for sure.
and that's the fun part of acting too, is the improvisation that takes place,
Yeah, I mean,
very often.
for sure. I believe film is a living, breathing thing. It's a collaborative medium. So, like, I'll take my ideas about the character, the actor will take their ideas about the character, and we throw them at the canvas, and whatever we use, like whatever works for both of us, we use to paint the picture of who that person is. And so I feel like, when it comes to, ad-libbing or creating stuff past the page, dialogue wise, I think that's, actors come with different tool sets that they can bring to elevate the movie. Paul Thomas Anderson recently said in like an interview that, the best special effect a director could have is a really good actor. And I agree. That's like that's what people are coming to see the movies for, is like, good actors doing good stuff. So I encourage some great moments if we can find them.
Yeah, and you're right. I think we'll go see a movie because of the actors that are in it. Or if it's a Marvel picture, maybe we don't know the actors sometimes, and then we begin to know them, and they become world
Yeah.
famous by being in those films. But Bruce Willis is legendary, obviously. What did you learn anything from him? Now you're directing your second film with Bruce. Did you learn anything from him on this particular film, or just in general, have you learned from him?
I think, like, in general, we learn from everybody that we work with. Everybody, every single actor or crew member that you work with, or producer or anything, like, you learn from. I would say, for me, as you mentioned, like, I'm young. I'm 29 years old, and I feel like I'm still learning. Every movie I do, I learn so much. And so I'd say, like, I'm always constantly like absorbing and learning things from all the people that I work with. I'm a firm believer that, sometimes directors don't always have to have the best ideas. They just have to be able to recognize good ones. And sometimes, it's why of course I bring my ideas to the table, but I'm very collaborative with the people that I work with. And I think, ultimately, learning from those around me that have done it so many more times, I think strengthens the product in the end, and the film that everybody ends up seeing.
100%, 100%, and you'll continue to learn until the day you die, James,
Hopefully.
because there's always new things to learn. I think even still, Steven Spielberg probably would tell you the same thing if you were to ask him at this stage in his career, that he's constantly still learning, because that makes it interesting. The more what keeps you young is to be curious and to keep wanting to learn. I think the
For
minute
sure.
we think we've got it, forget it. We get slapped down very quickly if we
Yeah, for
think we've got
sure.
it all done. So, for you, what was the most difficult part of filming this? Was this filmed before the pandemic or during the pandemic? When was
Filmed
this
during
filmed?
the pandemic. So part of the
Filmed
difficult,
during it.
stuff was, I think, people having to be, separated more due to, COVID restrictions, as well as like the constant testing. I'm all for, the testing and being safe and all that stuff. But, having a thing, it's the deep nose one. So having the thing go deep in your nose, every other day was,
Yeah.
it definitely wakes you up. I didn't need coffee.
Yeah, your sinuses are clear.
My
Sure.
side, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was great. It was great.
So where did you find the farmhouse? Where was that filmed? Because obviously that's a
That was
big part
filmed
of
in
this
Puerto
movie.
Rico. It was filmed in Puerto Rico, and
Mhm.
we filmed the whole movie in Puerto Rico. We had
Wow.
a
Okay.
wonderful crew that we worked with. I loved working with the Puerto Rican crew, and Luyo, producer over there, and Bobby and Katya. They really put together a great crew that I got to work with, and it was it was great. The Puerto Ricans were very welcoming to us production wise, and it was really beautiful filming over there. Got a little hot sometimes, not gonna lie, but but other than that, it was it was pretty amazing.
What time of year did you film it?
So oof, that is hard to I don't remember. I would say this year is the time of year. No, I filmed it this year. I want to say in April or maybe March.
Okay, so it was just you were filming then, and then and now it's out in September. So that's pretty
Yeah, I
fast.
know. It's just a
Pretty fast.
whirlwind. It's a
Yeah,
whirlwind. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's
Well,
yeah,
that's great that you filmed in Puerto Rico. I think that's wonderful.
yeah, it was awesome. It was super cool. It was super cool.
So you've done, as I said, a lot of things. You started working around age 18, but what I want to talk to you about, you had a film that was banned in England, in the UK,
Yes, I
and
did. I did.
and it
Yeah.
was one of how many films have been banned in the UK? Not many. One of three, first, whatever. Not many.
It's one of three in the past 10 years, but I think like, during the 80s, they banned a lot of them. So I think it's like one of like 30 or something in history.
So why was it banned? Why do they ban films in the UK?
Uh,
And why was your
I
film
mean,
banned?
so the official statement on it was that that the movie was unfit for anyone of any age to see.
Really?
Um,
All right,
they
James.
said,
Oops, we lost you.
oh, I'm here. Sorry.
Okay.
They said it was too too violent, and like the language was too strong. Basically, like I made a horror movie of what would scare me. So it was it was a home invasion film, where neo-Nazis break into a Jewish family's home, and terrorize them. I'm Jewish myself, and I got the idea because like I was like 19 years old, on my way to a film festival that my first movie was playing at, and we stopped off at like a bar and grill. On the way, it was like we road tripped over there, and I was like accosted by like actual neo Nazis there, and like the guy who owned the bar like basically told us like we should leave or like bad things would end up happening. All this stuff started happening, and so like I started to think of that, and so me and my writing partner and producing partner, who was also Jewish, kind of came up with this concept of what to do, and so we put together this film.
We lost you again, James.
Sorry. It's because my composer just keeps calling me on but I'll get to him in a minute. But anyways, it's basically I think we made a movie that would scare us, and I think it also highlighted the fact that like hate crimes, especially hate crimes towards Jewish people, were on the rise. Now this was 10 years ago, and I think it's it's even more prevalent now, but I think people didn't kind of turn a blind eye to it at the time, but it was saying that hate crimes were on the rise, and I think maybe it was too intense for certain people, but for me, especially because of budgetary restraints and also like trying to do it in a less exploitative manner, none of the on-screen violence or horrific things like actually happens on screen. It happens slightly off screen. So like they say something's gonna happen, like there's like a moment where like so they say they're gonna kill this person, and then the camera pans away because it's found footage style, and then you hear it happen like off the screen. Like they say there's going to be like a rape scene, and then you hear the screams and it pans away. Like it doesn't actually, there's no nudity or real on-screen violence in the movie. So I think it was just the power of the message and the imagination. Is it the type of movie I would make today? No, I don't think so. I think I've gone more commercial with a lot of the stuff I do, but like at 19 years old, I just kind of made something that was like a message for what I was feeling, the fear I was feeling at the time. Yeah.
What's the name of that film? Can it be found?
It's called Hate Crime.
What's it called?
It's called Hate Crime, and
Hate Crime. Okay.
And I'm definitely making it sound a little bit more classy than it ends up seeming when you watch it. It's really insane. It's an insane movie, but it's very different than the movie we're talking about today.
Yes. Well, we'll go back to the movie we're talking about today, which is Saving the Game, or Save the Game.
Survive the Game.
Survive the Game. I'm sorry. Gosh. Okay. Yeah. Survive the Game. The music speaking of your composer calling you, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the music, because the music was really interesting too throughout this film, and lots of different genres. So let's talk about
Yeah.
that. Let's talk about the
Yeah,
music.
so the music was really awesome. I think the composer Tim Jones did an amazing job, and then I also was really fortunate enough. I have a good relationship with Cleopatra Records, and Cleopatra Records, donated a lot of tracks to the movie, like gave us a lot of music, and also Brian Pereira from Cleopatra, I really appreciate. And then I was also good friends with DMX. We did a couple movies together before he passed away, and it was it was an honor to have two of his songs in the film, which I thought had to be during the chase scenes, because DMX, that rough voice goes during chase scenes really well. But yeah, we did a lot of really cool stuff with the music in there. I think we have everything from DMX to like electronica to we go in and we have Junior Wells blues music. So I think it was really I think it's a really interesting soundtrack. I'm excited for people to check out.
It is. It's very interesting, and it is. It's fascinating to listen to it, and it really works well throughout the movie, too. Let's talk about the female the protagonists that you have in these films, because they're all bad girls.
Yeah. There's no. Well, no. I mean, Sarah Romer plays a good person, but she's not in too much of the movie, but it's more of a cameo. Sarah's great though. She was wonderful to work with, and her and Chad are super lovely. But yeah, no, we have some pretty badass bad females in this movie.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, so Donna D'Erico, Julia Klass, and Kate Katzman play the bad girls in this movie, and they're all super murderous, and you definitely got to check out the movie. But they're pretty insane. All of them are pretty bad.
Yes,
They're
they
like
are.
that. Like I just realized that when you said that, we don't have any like redeeming female characters. They're all bad people, and the bad guys. But it's just the way it worked out. But they definitely slug it out. They go and they try and kill everyone. I mean, they're violent as hell.
When you auditioned them, did they all have to know how to fight? How to do some of the karate and some of the other things that you have them do in this film? I mean,
Yeah, I
obviously,
mean,
you beat each other
all
up.
three of them have fight training and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's always great when your actors have fight training. But just in general, just across the board, I also want to give a shout out. The stunt crew in Puerto Rico was insane. They did an amazing job. I mean, those guys were jumping out of buildings. They were in cars when they were crashing. They're doing insane fight sequences and choreographing insane, really long fight sequences.
Yes.
Raul was the stunt coordinator, and Jonathan and Monica, and a few others, Leo and all these guys were our stunt performers, and they were just insane. Those people really went for it, and I'm very blessed I got to work with them.
That's great. Other than the heat and filming during the pandemic, was there anything else that made this shoot a little bit more difficult than usual?
I think every shoot has its challenges. When you're making a movie, everything, it has its challenges. I wouldn't say anything, more difficult than normal. I would just say, the main thing is just, COVID restrictions. This was my first time really doing something inside of the pandemic that, it was an interesting learning curve from previously having, directed movies where there was no hey, you can't be within 6 feet or more than 3 people in a room, or all the stuff that didn't exist a few years ago.
Yeah, it has changed in that respect. So just briefly, we have about 20 seconds or so. Talk a little bit about the new movie with Bruce Willis. What's the synopsis of that, and what's the name of it?
So the new movie is called The Fortress, and it's basically a father played by Bruce, is has his son who's estranged from him come visit him at this like retirement community, and basically the retirement community gets overrun by mercenaries, and Bruce, who is ex a lot of things, has some skills to kill, and his son Jesse Metcalf have to fight their way out and save the people in this community.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to watching The Fortress. Do you know when that might be coming out?
I don't, but it's a lot of fun, so I'm excited for people to see it.
Good. Well, we'll have you back on the show to talk about that for sure.
Yeah.
So where can people see Survive the Game?
On VOD and in theaters everywhere soon. On the 8th in theaters, which is limited, and then on the 12th on VOD and Blu-ray and DVD of October.
Great. Well, thank you, James. I wish you much success with this film and look forward to talking to you about your next film too. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. You rock.
Thank you. So do you.
Awesome.
My pleasure. Thank you. If you have missed any of the Jan Price Shows All About Movies, you can find us just about anywhere. You can go to my website, thejanpriceshow.com, where all the shows are archived. You can go to the iHeart Podcast Network, Spotify, Apple, Google, you name it, we're there. We also are on YouTube. Please go and follow us on our YouTube channel, and also follow us at The Jan Price Show on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you all for listening.